Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sons of God and Liberty. Oh, it's that time, that evening commute. I've been off for a couple of days. Ended up got sick again. Been a fever and my lymph node, my left, right there below the jawline, where your jaw connects, swelled up. It swelled up bad. To the point where I could barely eat, talk. Lucky for me, I still had some amoxicillin left over, and hot compound kind of did the trick, at least for a few hours, and take the swelling down. The swelling come back. Hope that's the last time this year, I guess. So been on a roll last couple months here. Honestly, I think it's just all the hours I put in this year has finally caught up to me. Being around people, it's been sick. Plus, stress of moving, getting things situated. But right now, I mean, like I said, everything's been going great. Stop getting sick. I don't usually miss work. In fact, since I've been where I work, I've only called in sick be like fourth time. I've been there a little over 2 years. Not really. I wouldn't even say fourth time. It's third time I called in sick. The upper respiratory infection. This last year I had touch of food poisoning. So the year before that, 2020. So I don't really get that sick, but again, I'm not. It's been a long time since I put the hours like I have this year in. If I would have made it full week this week, I would have had over. That have put me over 370 hours overtime for the year. That's a lot. It's over basically an hour overtime a day. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. It was 13-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts. Now, coming back off of having to quarantine, my sister got COVID, coming back to a new work schedule, 10-hour days, 4 days a week, which I love. My body just hasn't had time to recoup, recover. But all in all, yeah, I'm doing good. I don't know how many of you guys been keeping up with the court case of Kyle Rittenhouse. Court case, all I gotta say, oh my God, I'd like to know what Cracker Jack thought they got that consistent prosecuting attorney covered. Because let me tell you, during the opening on Monday, if you would have walked in not knowing who was doing the opening, you would have swore you was listening to the defense. Yep, I said that right. You would have swore you was listening to the defense. That's how amazing this assistant prosecuting attorney is. I mean, it's been kind of comic relief, honest. And this case ain't laughing matter. Probably one of our most important cases to date, because what it symbolizes and what it means for Second Amendment rights and freedom of speech. What it means between peaceful protests and violent protests. Right, your rights to protect your properties of others from violent, malicious rioters, not protesters, which I thought was kind of cool last week, how that was kind of cleared up. You guys weren't victims. This judge they've got on this, he's a hoot. And what I could see by the book, had 20 years on the bench and runs a tight ship. He would be a judge I would never worry about if I had to go in front of him, especially if I was in the wrong. Or if I was in the wrong, I knew I'd get justly punished. But, unfortunately, for most matters, this is in the hands of Kyle's peers. It is in the hands of the jury. We found out this morning, jury number 7 was removed for some distasteful. You know, honestly, more I've watched this following it, there's a few things I corrected. Gotta love this assistant attorney. I mean, I was worried about, CNN and all them doing hit pieces of it. This has a lot of political impact. But, their state was he came across state lines with a weapon. And that wasn't the case. And this was brought out by the assistant prosecuting attorney, of all things. Yeah, figure that one out. Probably one of your most damning aspects of your case that the media publicized and had wrong. You just corrected the statement and said it right. Because the weapon involved, the AR-15 involved, never left the state. It was at his friend's house the whole time. Today's talking points, yesterday's talking points, there's a discrepancy of was it his? But then again, you go back to the opening statement. I gotta say, I mean, like I said, I don't know where they got this assistant prosecuting attorney and why the DA isn't prosecuting the case themselves like it should be. Well, I have my theories on that. And that's what they are, in my opinion, theories, but they're quite sound. This is a powder keg case. Nobody's going to argue that. No matter how this verdict goes, nothing. Not for that time, which is a sad part. Because, and I'm going to get into that. Who should be being tried here? Who is to blame? I'm going to get into that too on this commute, because I think it's long overdue that media is held accountable for their lies that cause these problems, that cause the vandalism, the riot, them glorifying people that should not be glorified, condemning the police, all based on politics. For the most part, I'm going to say the media is going to probably keep quiet on this for a while. Considering the damage already the prosecutor and attorney have done to their narrative, which I, I mean, your mouth. I mean, literally, if you got time, you can find it on YouTube, either on Court TV or just watch the post. Is like what I was watching today. Or if you want a real good laugh, you want to listen to the opening argument statement. Check out Steven Crowder, Louder or Crowder. Oh my God, you'll be in tears. It was, I mean, yeah, yeah, it was hilarious. It was that hilarious, and they made it just even more hilarious. That was their Monday podcast. Yeah, they're back. I don't know for how long. Probably not long. The way they're going, but yeah, this. I mean, the impact. This case has the potential not only to show people that you have the right to defend your platform, you have the right to defend your business, that you do not have to let a group of angry mobs and protesters who are there just to cause mayhem and destruction. And I'm not saying all the time. And that's actually being brought out too. Today it was being brought out. And retired Army veteran on the stand. Prosecution. Oh my God. I mean, like it's like every witness he pulls up. I mean, the defense don't really have to do anything. The assistant prosecuting attorney is doing the defense's work for them. It's that. I mean, it's a mockery of justice, honestly. And I believe it's intentional. I firmly believe it's intentional. You know, the irony of it is the trial is being held at the very courthouse that the protesters tried to burn down. That if it wasn't for people like Kyle and I can't remember the military guy that was on the stand, but there was several out there that were armed, and their presence alone was the deterrent. They'd walk up, people that were trying to set fires or breaking windows would see them, they'd run. And that military vet pointed that out. He's like, our presence alone was enough to deter these guys. Except, exception of a few people that were just there to cause trouble, looking for an opening. It's like I said, it's been an interesting case. As interesting as what the hell? I mean, and the truth is, I get it. They know the ramifications. They know exactly what a verdict of guilty or not guilty would cost. I think they're honestly trying to throw the where it is declared a mistrial or it's going as far to where it's a complete acquittal because of the mishandling of the prosecution. I know. I think me and Bree talked about it Tuesday morning or Monday morning when she came home. Now she brought up about the live stream and not being able to carry and conceal. Well, I got brought up today in court, and in that particular state, that law is not effective. So, dude that had the gun and was live streaming, he was not committing no crime. I want to get the court and set the record straight on. But was the one witness the prosecution attorney was asking questions about what particular state. He named, New York, definitely no go. Portland, Washington. What I found interesting because I know I just stated state, but he said, he said Portland you can't, but he said you can in Seattle. So apparently it's not just a state thing, it's a county thing, I guess. I don't know. But I do want to clear that up because it was stated. But for the most part, he was right. There's a lot of states that do have that due to, because of certain things that have been filmed, violent acts have been filmed and streamed live. That law was a lot of states adopted that law. But like you said, this case, I mean, that's the sad part for me. When see the way this assistant attorney general is, or not general, but assistant prosecutor attorney is just blatant butchering. Like he's trying to throw this case. I mean, it makes sense why the DA and prosecute himself, or the the head prosecutor not doing. So I mean, there's that time I think the judges even got fed up with the assistant prosecuting attorney, especially the day he was getting kind of tired of the way he was basically trying to put words in the witness's mouth, or the way he was jumping back and forth trying to set a timeline. Well, if you're going to set a timeline, you start at the beginning and work your way to the end. No, not this guy. This guy was jumping all over the place. Then he'd go back. I mean, a few times that's what really, I think, irritated the judge a bit. He started asking him the same question that he asked about 20 minutes ago. Now, really, the only thing we don't know about this case is the FBI testimony that took place yesterday. That was no cameras allowed, no names was even allowed to be mentioned. And this supposedly was the assistant attorney general smoking gun, so to speak. But we've seen the FBI plane footage, which is all thermal or in black and white thermal. I think it's infrared or something. I don't remember the exact term. And I thought it was funny in the opening statements. The defense, brought up all these pictures, including that video. I mean, really, it's the jury just got to follow the video. The defense can't butcher this. No way, no how. They just got to present the videos and present what is being seen. The same thing for the prosecution. Prosecution. The videos are there. They can, like I said, you want to know what law is in a courtroom. It's your interpretation of the law and how you sell your interpretation to the judge and jury. That's it. Don't need no fancy lawyer. You just got to have a mouthpiece. What is a lawyer? Nothing but a glorified mouthpiece that knows all the loopholes, jargon, technicalities, and they sell their interpretation. Get the jury to believe their interpretation. That's what it is. And this day and age, I mean, this whole thing's videoly documented. So videoly documented. All you got to do is put all the videos in order. All right, there you go. Now, there is arguments. So, there's arguments of he was a minor. You know, I think the biggest blow in Bombshell that it went down was the fact that dude that bought him the gun. There's two different stories, but like I said, the prosecution has changed his story a couple of times. I don't understand why nobody's called him on it. From what he said in the opening statement to now. But he brought in the dude's best friend, supposedly. Said he called him, they considered him a brother, I guess. That's how they spun it. Well, truth finally came out on this one. He was supposed to be sentenced a while back. Why? For selling, giving a weapon for minors. And honestly, the kid himself, not that much older, honestly. But, they postponed the case, postponed it. It's supposed to take place now after this trial. You know, but defense doing their job. Ask the most important question. Why you testify? The answer was in hopes that that the prosecution goes easy on me, basically. There's a deal made. It's how it works. Been there, done that, seen it happen. In fact, I got hit with contempt of court because I put it out there. Well, they tried to hit contempt of court, but judge well, I pled the fifth. So, and this prosecution attorney didn't have to want to stop. Kept on trying to get me to say it. I'm just there, supposedly a witness anyway. And it was one of my best ones. But either way, the point was, none of us knew. I didn't know where my best friend was in this particular case. I was not even involved in. But since this idiot wanted to push while I was on the stand, I finally said, flat out, let's go hold the judge. Said, my friend's defense ain't trying to stick up for me, objecting or nothing. I finally said it. The only reason we were brought here was to testify against them, and that charges will be brought against them. He offered that deal back to every single one of us. Yeah, that didn't go well. Helped my friend out because The other guys were like, that was the defense. Hook, line, and sinker to go after them. Like, is what he said true? I mean, my dude, he was guilty. He ended up doing that. It was one of those, the hell was you guys thinking? It was more like, what the hell was my husband thinking? To this day, I don't know the whole story of what really took place, nor do I want to know. But that game, everybody knows it. They do it with the drug users, drug dealers all the time, offer them ESP bargains, lesser sentences for them to turn enroll, turn states up. But I thought that was interesting. He got him admitted, so kids, he's not even a credible witness. He's convicted of being convicted part of this case anyway for giving a minor the gun, which he tried to claim. Well, he took it. That's not what the opening statements of the assistant prosecutor was. That was he Kyle gave him the money to buy the gun for him, and it was kept his friend's file. Well, when the kid took the stand, it was a completely different story. It's like having the assistant prosecutor don't have their story straight. He said one thing in opening statements. Now his probably would have been a key witness stating something completely different. No, he took it. He stole it. It was my dad's gun. Well, in the defense asked, well, did you interject? Did you try to stop him? Did you say anything? No. Then that's when he went on, pushed further, asked, well, why you testify? Was you offered some kind of deal? And, kid not being so smart, smart enough not to perjure himself, basically said, yeah, I was hoping if I helped the assistant prosecutor turn me out, I'd get a lesser sentence or they drop the charges. But I mean, this case, it's like they're intentionally trying to sabotage it. And I'm not talking about the defense. I'm talking about the so-called assistant prosecution attorney. And it makes sense. Because if they do, oh, you can't blame us for the verdict. The whole point of it all, who should really be on stand here, on trial here? It should be the media. Every media outlet that covered it before any of the facts were spread live. I remember in the 90s and 80s, they could get sued for that crap. Defamation of character. We're trying to ruin somebody's life. It's the media that should be on trial. Everyone that reported all the wrong information for inciting a riot. Because that's what they do. They riled up protesters with these lies. And truthfully, they did so much damage that regardless, this kid couldn't get a fair trial anyway. No matter where you change the venue, because it was so publicized. It was so politically fueled. You know how you put a stop to that? You start holding those accountable that spread the lies that fuel the riots, that add the fuel. He never brought a weapon across state lines. Did he live in another state? Technically, yes. His mom lives in Illinois. His dad lives in Wisconsin. He works as a lifeguard in Wisconsin. Now, nobody's asked the question. Obviously, it's kind of, they're just making it out that he lives with his mom. Does he stay with his dad, too? Nobody's asked that question. But the fact is, even by the assistant prosecution attorney, he's never, that gun never crossed state. But for everybody that hasn't followed the case or hasn't listened to it, all they know is what mainstream media has told them, that he brought a gun across state. That he came across state lines to commit a crime. Well, by bringing a weapon across state. Right, by, technically, he can be found guilty of possession of a firearm as a minor. There's a loophole in that law, and we'll see how it plays out. If the loophole comes into play. But as far as self defense, video pretty much clearly shows it. And that's the problem. The media will take snippets to prove their narrative, not show you the whole thing. And I think there should be laws brought up against that. If you're going to show a video, you're going to show somebody else's video, you need to show it from start to finish. Not snip it out here and there. So your narrative comes through because what's said afterwards probably has more importance and has all the context for what's been stated. We just snipped out the part that you can attack on. We left out all the rest that clarified why they made that statement. That is the problem with the systems today. The problem with our media. Who do I blame for what took place there? Who do I blame for what's taking place in other cities like Seattle, Portland? I blame the media. I blame the media for Ferguson. You can go all the way back there if you want to. They hyped it up, and they were wrong almost every time with their narrative. Because their narrative was politically based. To attack a political side, to attack those that are pro Second Amendment. There is the true miscarriage of justice. They influence so much because you can't find a jury that hasn't seen it. Everybody's seen it. Most people don't even watch us live stream. Most people are so in their taught program day one that now they even watch TV news with the parents do, or watch CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. They're all guilty. They all have a political agenda. This whole movement, defund the police, because what they did was wrong, but they never showed you the full footage. They never got into it. They would rap sheet. They didn't tell you all the real parts, because if they told you all the real parts, you would not even lifted it, even batted an eye to what happened. And that's the sad part. They use the wrong individual to do it on purpose. These people aren't victims. They were criminals. They committed criminal acts. The whole hands up, don't shoot. Dude never had his hands up unless you count putting his hands up to throw this. That wasn't the narrative. That's not what the media tried to sell you and show you. No accountability. They do as they want, say what they want, and get away with it. They're the reason why half these people lost their businesses, why things were burned, why these riots took place. They're the ones that should be on trial. That's just the fact. But we also now have all these so-called independent fact checkers that they use, who are just as guilty and corrupt as the media, because their opinions are based on who they get their narratives from. Well, CNN published this. The Washington Post published this. So therefore, what you're saying is not true. This is fact. Bullshit. How many times have they been caught lying, cheating, manipulating, making things up? I mean, fuck, they got caught doing blue screens. When's enough's enough? When are they going to be held accountable? Well, see, that's the catch. Especially when we're dealing like CD or MSNBC, CNN, Fox News. They're all labeled as entertainment guys. They're not media. We need to quit calling them that. They're not. We should never take anything they say at face value, because the job is to entertain. Their job is to feed us and spin us whatever political side they adhere to, whatever propaganda they're told to spew at the time. The psychological warfare they are created to perform. Which makes it even that much harder to hold them accountable, because that was how they were able to finally discredit Alex down, taking the court, where he just said, "I'm entertainment." They could sell out of the time, but he still has this cult following. He's the politicians and the CIA, FBI's best friend. They used him for every one of us to censor him. He was their pet project, their plan. But those people still hang on every word he says. And yes, sometimes he gets it right. But he causes so much more problems. That's why, I learned my lesson a long time ago. Not that long ago. A couple years ago, though, we jumped on the case because everybody was jumping stuff that was happening out in Arizona. And it was a good talk. That was what drew everybody in. It was a good cause. And it opened the door to a lot of things, especially when, after we started researching this person, found out where this person's been, what he's done, found out, oh, this ain't right. Bad things happen around this person. But the story, it was a real story. Traffic department. The more you research it, the more you delve into it, the more you realize it's happening right in your own backyard. You didn't need to go put Arizona. But this dude, he was up to no good. It was the first time I've ever had to retract a video, and the only time. Because after that, no, I will never jump on something that is breaking. And a lot of people do. I want to wait. I want the facts in. I want to see. I want to see all the angles, everybody's opinions and views before I open my mouth. I don't want to be like mainstream media. I don't want to have to say, "Oh, I got this wrong." Retraction, take down the video. Now, when I have something wrong, like I did tonight, your spirit pressed in, covered it up, but she had something wrong. So was she totally wrong? No. But in this particular case, yes, what we were talking about, yes, it's wrong. And it's important when we come across this thing to correct ourselves. It's also important when we say stuff like that. And you find something that is wrong. You let us know so we can fix it or further research. Because that's the thing, the laws are ever changing. Every day there's a new law being made up. It's hard to keep up with ever changing law. You know, like nobody can. It's hard enough to keep track what our federal government trying to screw us with every day. I hear everybody's talking about the thing. Everybody's so caught up on the politics, they're ignoring the most important case that's going on now. Red wave. You guys just don't get it, do you? Haven't figured it out. You're stuck to your labels. You're enslaved to a label that you can't see past it. That you can't see that there's never going to be change. Now, with that said, I don't know if dude won. Well, I guess he did. The trucker in New Jersey. Only spent, some are saying 150, 200 bucks on his campaign. And won. Today he was asked, well, what are you going to do? First day. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to have to learn, educate myself. But what I'm not going to do is go in there blind. I'm not going to change. He's not going to change who he is. He's got a mouth. He's going to use it. He goes, I know what it's like. Paraphrasing the guys. Catch his video up. If he was truthful, a truthful non-politician, because he's not a politician. He wasn't. He was a guy that doesn't really know what he'll do or what he's supposed to do. That's what I want to see. I don't care what he ran under. He's an everyday citizen, a worker that lived his life working, that knows what this country needs, knows what his state. That's what we need. We don't need no blue, red. We need people just like you. Me. I'm exempt. I can't. Well, technically, I could. Jack Kevorkian proved that. He actually ran for the Senate. So yes, even a criminal can, convicted felon can actually. The loophole there. He found it. You know what the running joke in prison is and in jails? Yes, there's people in there in prison and jail that deserve to be there. Should be there. The real criminals, the very ones making the laws, the very own politicians. They're the ones that truly deserve to be in the prisons that they built, that they're making money off of. That creates that. All the corruption we've seen, all the lies, how these guys go in there, not multi-millionaires, not millionaires. Next thing you know, they're millionaires. So we did see some change on election day. But unfortunately, it didn't change. And you got people screaming, oh, red wave. You know, it's blue, red, political bias, propaganda, psychological warfare, labeled BS. That's what it is. Not taken away from some of these politicians that got it. So who? Probably about the right thing. We don't know. We're going to find out. Truck driver, we don't know. He's still, making a case. We're going to see how an everyday citizen, a common person, looker that should be in office, that knows what this country needs, what the people need, how he does. As far as these others like Virginia, I can't tell you. Because some of these are probably been career politicians. That's whoever lives in those states, that's your job to research them. Are they about what they promised? Are they about the Constitution? I don't care what their political affiliation. Neither should you. Do I think what happened in Virginia is a good thing? Yeah, I think so in the long run. Change change is usually good. Not always. It might not be at first, but usually change does bring about some good. Change is needed. None of us are going to argue that. What we're going to argue is getting the right thing. Not these career politicians who lie every election cycle. They need to go. Same way as electing our president. That we need to change that. You know, he's like by dementia patient 101, stating that, still pushing that fact that everybody needs to, that any factory or business that employs over 100 people need to have their people vaccinated by January 4th. I mean, he's pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. But hey, it's still not a law. He's not signing an executive order. Nothing's went to Congress on it. And if it does, and if he is really completely out of his mind and actually does do an executive order, then we, the people, have to take action. And that action is blowing up our representatives' phones and making it very good and clear. You will impeach that president. He is committed an unconstitutional act. If you do not impeach the president, you will not be reelected, period. Then let them call our bluff, because we're not bluffing. But they don't fear us, so they're not going to call our bluff. So they will call our bluff. Because right now, they have the control. They know whatever little funky they want to get off, they need to do it now, before 2022. Because more likely they're going to lose control of the power they have. But it's still going to be the same old song and dance, because it don't change. Just because the color changes doesn't mean politics change. Doesn't mean the lies change. They keep doing the same BS over and over. They don't represent us. They represent themselves and the corporate sponsors that put money in their pocket. They represent the corporation. They don't represent us. They haven't for a very long time, because they don't fear us. You know, so much talk of civil war, states wanting to cede for the union. So far, it's all talk. But I tell you what, when you start threatening a man's livelihood or a woman's livelihood, their ability to put food on their table, their ability to protect their families, you are getting closer and closer to those things. You're approaching on that self venom. Something that many people in the past have found out the hard way. That rattlesnake hasn't been fight. We'll tolerate a lot. As a people, as a nation, we tolerate a lot. We let things slide, we shouldn't. But I tell you what, it's in the air. You see it, you see people start to take a stand. And I think that was the biggest stand that was taken in Virginia. You told these parents they could not. I mean, I never heard speech up until today that the former governor gave about basically tell the parents you're not going to have control of what the school. You have no say in what the school does. Excuse me? I have every say what you teach my child. But that was the icing on the cake. That was a straw that literally broke the camel's back. And that reawoken that rebel spirit in those Virginians. They got an interesting state flag. And I think people just woke up to what that state flag represents. Hopefully the trend continues. Hopefully the people don't get laughed because the color changed. Because if they do, same crap. We've had more and more people resist. No, vaccines has always been my stance on them. It's your choice. It's a personal choice. What my choice is none of your damn business. What choice you make is none of my business. It's your choice. That's the freedom that's granted to us by the Constitution. The very thing that they're trying to solve out. They don't want you to have a choice. I mean, they blatantly came out and said it. The woke generation is a danger to this country, to our political system. Why? We're free thinkers. We see the lie. We're done. They're turning on their own now. The woke left is dangerous. Dog eat dog world, isn't it? They'll literally bite the hand that feeds them. They're rabid. They care not for you. Never. And as I'm looking out the window, you guys can't really see it that well. All these windmills. Reminds me of Sleepy Joe falling asleep at the climate convention. I guess it was that boring. Probably was. Here's my problem. I'm going to try not to use foul language here. It's going to be hard. What the WTF are we giving other effing or fracking, sci-fi, fracking countries 500 million a year? That's what he promised. Plus, the fact that we're going to keep pushing emissions down, get away from the coal and all this. But we're going to give these other countries $500 million a year. Where's that 500 million coming from? With our trillion debt that we have. With our infrastructure in shambles. It's a so-called pandemic. I think that 500 million is much needed here. It ain't our job to police the world. It's not our job to feed the world. It is our job to take care of our own first. That's what really irritated everybody about Trump. America first. Not some sensible third world country first. Not some useless UN that should never have a voice here in the United States that we pay dues to. not no some climate accord treat that we pay for, and we pay the most. We always pay the most, but yet China, the biggest polluters, the biggest rapers of natural resources, where they send out all these people to go take the land, take the resources from the land, well documented. They're in every country that has natural resources, and they rape it and ban. There's been plenty of cases. People own land in these other countries that are gold rich. They go out to the plains, and all these Chinese are stripping their plains. Nothing the federal or the police can do, or the federal authorities can do, because there's too many. They have guns. Sure, they're bringing in an army. You can't do anything. It's sick. They get away with it. They get away with the espionage, stealing of technology. But we're asked to pay more. We're not that rich country anymore. Haven't been for a long time. We're in debt. It's time we focus on ourselves. It's time our government focuses on, hey, we don't need that $1 trillion budget bill you're offering. We need $1 trillion to cover what we already pay. They should be more focused on bringing our debt down, bringing jobs back here in the United States, not shipping them out because, hey, you go overseas and you import your stuff in for free. No. And I tell you what, any company that does that, I will never buy from ever. I'll never own a Ford. Why? They shipped out a long time ago. Just because they came back under Trump. No. And I'm not a Ford fan. Oh, they'll never buy. I'll never go into Menards and buy. Just because what they said to me during the pandemic, during the lockdowns and mask mandate, when the mask wasn't even mandated here in Ohio yet. When they flat out said, well, your constitutional rights don't mean it. I didn't know that. They private business. They have a right to serve who they choose. But you don't have to worry about ever serving me. I'll go to those. They say honor our military and our vets. So, yeah. Okay, Mr. Trucker. Realize you're in a hurry. Yeah, I'm doing 70. It's only 65 down here. It's just ridiculous. The things that our politicians are doing. And it's not benefiting us. We've seen a little thing. It's never going to be enough. But it also goes back to what I said. It's a start. It's somebody just passed that stuff. The ripples. More stone the cast, the bigger the ripples get. You have a wave. Before you know it, you have a tsunami, a tidal wave. But of course, they're going to try to squash that and distract us from that. Much like, everybody's paying attention to the politics and that stuff. What I think is one of the most important court cases, followed by what's taking place in the Supreme Court. I almost forgot about that. Supreme Court's actually hearing a case about the right to carry, open carry, or concealed carry in New York. The president, it's like first time in over a decade that the Supreme Court actually had to hear a case on the Second Amendment. That's something worth following. Because it's a good argument here brought up. With crime rate going up in New York, the people shouldn't have the right to defend themselves when they're out. We've seen some graphic videos from New York. Some of that could have been prevented, much like that reason today by a retired Army singer testifying that his presence, their mere presence with their weapons and body armor, was enough to deter almost all of them. They'd see him and they would run. You're always going to have that one or two who don't care, who are there intentionally looking for the confrontation. That will never change. And that should be pointed out exactly what it is, black and white. What we also learned about during the court hearings today, and yesterday, that many of the protesters would come up to them, hey, we're starting fires. Some of these protesters actually invited these people in. Hey, can you help us get this person off the streets? Hey, they're setting fires over here. We're not about that. They don't represent us. And that's been the case with a lot of these protests. They select groups that come in, that that understand or have been taught to understand how dangerous the mob really is. A large group of people can be peaceful, but can be brought to a riotous mob. Know how to. You know how to entice, use your words, use the proper tones and vibrations for vocal patterns. How to shift your energies, the right chanting song. You can turn a mob into a riotous, destructive weapon. Even though they're peacefully at first. And I'll be the first to tell you, I don't agree with some of the facts that the police use to dispatch the protesters, because in a sense, it don't work. It actually escalates it. There's a thin line there, a right way and wrong way, and it's hard to differentiate how to properly a protest that's turned into a. But unfortunately, we've seen since Ferguson how these things play out, and it's more provocative, and it actually ramps up the protesters, even the peaceful ones. We need to find another way. I don't have the answer for that one. Maybe the answer is us policing ourselves. People taking back their communities. These peaceful protesters doing like we heard today, asking these people to come and help them, be a deterrent. Maybe that's the answer. But in the end, you're still going to have the one or two, which is actually many when you get a bunch of people together that are not going to be deterred. And those are the ones that should be singled out, should be rounded up and locked up. But in the end, we got to go back. Who's really to blame? And as I stated earlier, what took place there and took place in many states this year, past year, last couple of years, the blame falls on one sole group of entertainers, the media. It is long overdue that they are held accountable. And we need to find a way to do that legally. To where they know the buck finally ends. It stops here. Like I said, legally it's hard because they're not news. They're listed and labeled as entertainment. It makes it hard to go after them for reporting false facts. Because they'll just call, we're just entertainment. Which alone could be enough to discredit them. But as we see, Alex Jones, he still has his following. Yeah, he lost a bunch, but he still has his following. People still look up to him. And shouldn't. But yes, I do believe change is in the air. But I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how ugly it's going to be to get the things we want. Or will it be peaceful? A peaceful transition? Yeah, I'm an optimist. I ain't too optimistic. They're not going to allow it. It's that simple. Why? They don't do this. They believe they're in full control. They have the power. And there ain't nothing we. Some are going to say, you already proved the point. Did you? We'll see in a few, 6 months, a year from now, how much change happens in Virginia and how much stays the same. But the truth is, we changed nothing because we're still on that left-right label. We're still basing our votes on, we'll only vote red. That's not the answer. I will only vote blue. That's not the answer. I will only vote independent. That's not the answer, guys. The answer is get off your lazy ass, run for Congress, run for your state, See, there's the answer. Get these repetitive liars, hypocrites out of us. Replace them with everyday people. If a trucker can do it, you can do it. Quit, quit making excuses. That's where real change starts. And that's how real change happens. When you say enough is enough, I'm going to make it change. I'm going to make it a difference. When you know somebody in your community that got that mouthpiece, got that charisma that you just don't have, talk to them, convince them, have others find that person that's going to represent you and everybody in your community. No, we're not all going to agree on everything. It's impossible. Never will happen. We're going to argue, fight, figure about everything. But what we agree on, we need change. We need the United States to be strong and great again. We need everyday people willing to make that sacrifice. Because it is a sacrifice. Because you're going to be raked through the coals. They're going to try to destroy you. But we just seen a trucker that spent maximum maybe at $200 win a seat. That could be you. Then we can start bringing about the change we want. But let me give you a warning. And history has proven this to be oh so true. Power corrupts. Don't let it corrupt you. Don't let it change your principles, your core values. Don't let it change what you set forth to start. Don't be like the ones you're trying to replace. Because there's a part of me that believes that some of them, when they first got into it, they had just as good intentions as we do. They let that power, that money corrupt them. Don't be that person. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Or we don't get changed. I mean, that right there was the ultimate slap in the face to all these elite specialists. That an everyday person in truck driving could take a seat from a rich, wealthy elite. Strip him of that power. That's when you know, Houston, we have a problem. And they all know it. They might not be talking about it. But behind closed doors, best believe they're shaking in their boots. Because an everyday person that knows what this country means, what their state got it. And they're for sure shot, guaranteed person in it. That's almost worth a hallelujah. Let me tell you. Finally, because that's what our Constitution and our founding fathers meant. They meant any one of us to be able to become congressman, congresswoman, a state representative, a judge, a doctor, even the president of the United States. Not the rich, filthy rich. I'm tired of it. Do I want to see Trump in the next election? No. I don't want to see no more millionaires, billionaires in office. I want to see an everyday average Joe person that knows what it's like to work, knows what it's like to suffer, to barely be able to live paycheck. That's who I want to see as our president. I don't care if it's a man, woman, whatever. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see none of these congressmen elected. In fact, I want to see them all gone. Every last one of them. I want to see real change. How much more has got to be stripped away from you? You already don't got no say over your kids. The state does that for you. Now the federal government. I mean, Governor of Virginia said it best. It costs them. You have no say in what the schools board does, what the schools do, what they teach. No parent has the right to come in there and tell them what they can and can't do to their children. Really? Yeah. Bravo. That's what I like to see. Just jump right on that sword. Wish more of them would do that. Fortunately, some of these guys are way too smart for that. Those are the dangerous ones. The ones we don't talk about. Because they know how to wield their power and influence. They're the puppet masters. You know, funny. I could have sworn I did this commute Monday, said I was not going to talk about politics. This is truly more like rambling with chaotic mind. I might as well just ramble at chaotic, rambling in the chaotic mind commute, honestly. So I'm just going to say what's on my mind. Probably doesn't help that I'm actually fully rested for one. Doing great. Hopefully it stays that way for the rest of the year. I can't afford to be sick. Not no more. It's all right. I'm already going to lose a point. But Wednesday, half point for Thursday. So I don't got a doctor's note. Like why? I knew what was ailing me. Seeing the swelling, felt the lymph node. I knew what it was. I knew how to treat it. You know? Can't afford to go to a doctor every time. But I pretty much will just kiss whatever vacation time I had left. Draw back to 10-hour days, take 10 hours of points. I only had 13. So one of my days was covered. Both my days were covered technically because I worked Sunday night. The overtime stuff I can't do anymore. Not this year. It's taking a school. I'm not going to get sick again. My body says enough, and I'm listening to it. I'm going to enjoy the rest of the couple months this year. Enjoy the 3 days off I get every week, which I love. For the most part, I'm already all settled into the apartment. Still need a few things, but nothing I need to rush on. Probably should kind of rush, but that's a project. Getting a mattress for it. But I like my couch. It is comfy. So the recliner. So it hasn't been a real issue. I mean, it's not an issue until Sarah gets home. So She's still got 2 more weeks of deployment, hopefully. Want to push my luck there, but I am. That's what I said. It's long overdue. We all start putting all the cards and talking about the changes we want. Changes that mean start really talking about. Not with just you know, the various platforms we're on that stream from, but within our community still. Like me, I'm in a new community. I'm still getting out about to know people, trying to but that's where it starts. It always starts in the homes, where our homes are community. We are supposed to be the pillars of our community. And like I said, the more and more they keep screwing us over, more and more people are gonna start pushing back. More and more they keep trying to force stuff on us. More and more they're gonna find out that most of us remember our heritage. Most of us remember our real history. Yes, you might have the new generations fooled. There's plenty of talk cases about that. Parents not even going there. But yeah, teaching our kids critical race theory. Why don't you teach them the truth? You really want to teach them critical race theory? You're teach them true history of the world and our country. I'm not going to sit there and say we don't have our dark spots and patches in our history. We do. And it took a long time for us to get over that and overcome those things. But history is rich. So is the fact that, one of the biggest plantation owners in the United States at the time was black. That was in Texas. There was one in West Virginia or West Virginia. He was a former slave that got his freedom. He created his own, got his own land, created his own plantation, had his own slave. It's not as white and black as they try to make it out to be. When you strip the politics and get right down to the history of things and the real truth, as ugly as it is, when it comes to slavery, it didn't matter your skin color. Not one bit. Research the Oregon and Portland and those are in Shanghai tunnels. What the Chinese was doing. They didn't care your skin color. They'd knock you out right in the bar, drop the seat from underneath you down in the house. And they'd drag you to the ship. They didn't kill you. Or if you was a woman, they'd rape you, put in prostitution, put you aboard a ship, put you somewhere else. So not go there that it was just one color. So let's not forget that in Africa, the tribes, when they conquered another tribe, they'd sell the conquered tribes, ones they didn't kill, into slavery. That's history. But yet, our politicians want everybody to believe that racism and supremacy is all the white man. That's a lie. It's not even factual the way they spin it. Was there white slave owners? Yes. Those white slave owners also, what they neglect to tell you, had white slaves, had Chinese slaves. Might not have called them slaves, but they were indentured servants, people that couldn't afford passage to the United States, so they paid for their passage through slavery, working the plantations. Yes, our history can be ugly, it can be brutal. When you start researching the history and the facts, what our politicians are spewing is nothing but lies designed to keep us pitted against each other. Because they're just as guilty of some of these riots and destruction. And they should be held accountable too. They should really be held accountable because it's a violation of their, that's an ethics violation. That's an immediate removal of office. But no, because it was against a Trump supporter or it was against a Democrat. They use the party label like color to divide us and get away with everything. Oh, it's okay. It was a Trump supporter. No, it was not okay. It wasn't okay for her to tell people you see a group, walk up to them. That's not okay. But nothing comes about it ever. Why? Because in the end, ethic violations and ethic charges are brought up and dealt with by their own peers. Congress police supposed to police their own. And Congress will not go after another congressman or woman. So the checks and balance system there is broken. Oh, we're just above the approach. We don't need to do that. We're not going to do that. So all these things are supposed to be set in place to make sure things don't get the way they aren't working. If they're not going to police themselves, who are? Yes, we can yell and scream. We can actually petition them, but in the end, it's the fellow congressmen and women that hold the hearing for ethics, and they're not going to do it. I think in my lifetime, there's been like one case that I can remember. It was recent. That's the only reason I can remember it. And they let him basically resign. So there was really no justice there. No, hey, we're just going to let you gracefully bow out, finish your term. They don't work like that. It wasn't supposed to work like that. We're not supposed to work like that. They're supposed to be immediately removed, not allowed to vote on anything, hear anything, until after they are either found guilty or not guilty by their peers. Well, that system don't work. Like much of our systems don't work. They're all broken. They're so broken. It's all you basically when you try to fix one, you're putting a band-aid on it because you got to jump to the next crisis at hand. But designed, designed to keep you so scattered, jumping around that you can't focus on just one thing. Maybe it's time we just focus on one thing. One thing at a time. And see what happens. It's just like all the crap that's going on. I mean, I feel for people this year, especially now, this time of year. Holidays are coming up. We still got, shortages going on. We still have gas prices that get ridiculous. Up, down, up, down. Unfortunately, down doesn't mean down. It just means maybe 10 cents cheaper instead of 3.39. Oh, what did 3.29? We give the illusion that it went down, and 2 days later you go back. Oh, it's back with 3.39. It's ridiculous. Going to the grocery store from week to week, I dread it. Thankfully, I'm kind of stocked up now to where I don't have to get that much. But still, what little I got to get tomorrow will be expensive because the prices went triple. They seem to go up each week. They don't go down. They keep going up. It's like I said, I'm going to get my ham and turkey this weekend because, hey, I might not be able to find it come Thanksgiving week, the week before. And if I was get it, well, it's still cheap. And it's not cheap right now either. It's not what I paid for it last or the year before. And the portions have gotten smaller. And I paid twice as much for a smaller portion. Ridiculous. Who do I blame? You know who I'm going to blame. Go right back to our politics. They refuse to fix anything. All they want to do is drive this country further in debt, keep making matters worse. When's enough set up? You already crossed that third red line for me a long time. It's gotten to the point where what we've seen take place this week needs to happen on a large scale. And I don't mean a wave of red. I mean an everyday average person knows what it's like to struggle from paycheck to paycheck. Wondering if he's going to have a job because of the vaccine mandate. A trucker. That's what we need to see. More people like that taking positions in these offices of trust. Removing the old politicians that keep spewing the same lie. Can't say it can't be done. We've just seen it. Now you have the power. Now you've seen it. Some of you got to see it, believe it. But now you can see it. Now you can believe it. What's he going to do? How is he going to do it? We don't know. We're going to have to watch and learn. We're going to have to learn from his mistakes, learn from his successors. His first success, doing what everybody thought was impossible. Being an average day person, winning an election, and not spending millions of dollars in campaign funds and ads. That a true miraculous miracle. But rest assured, they're going to be on top of it now. They're not going to want to let that happen ever again. And I wouldn't be shocked if they don't try to change some laws to make sure no. And that's something we will have to stay on top of. I know every state's different. I know some states have laws in place where you have to have so much money in the bank for so long to run for fucking government office, which is unconstitutional. And states that have those laws, people keep taking them, challenging those laws. They are unconstitutional. You know who that really slaps in the face? Corporations that dump all these millions of these campaign funds, these war chests, they call them. Funny, we call them war chests. Nobody talks about the word analogy of the word and the meaning of it. They call it a war chest. Why does a politician need a war chest? Why does the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Independent Party need war chests? Think about that. Question that. Who are they at war with? You're building a war chest. Who are you at war with? I know someone's going to say, well, they're at war against the other party. Okay. I can see that. Not really, but okay. They're at war with the people. They're building the coffers to protect themselves against the common everyday people. They've got us trained to believe that you need to be a multi-millionaire, a millionaire, a billionaire, rich to hold off. Guess what? We just burst that bubble. We do now. $150, $200, whatever it was. And when they were interviewing, they said 150. I heard 200. Who knows? The point was, it wasn't millions. It wasn't even thousands. It was more like half my paycheck. And I want to see more of that. You know, I don't know how many people are going to see that, realize how much power that really is right now. How much power that person just gave every citizen of the United States. That is the true American dream. What we just hold on. What so many other people that I know follow are doing every day. We got people that say through the record label, music industry, using the platforms, our tools, YouTube, Apple, producing their own music, not signing contracts. You know, I got a lot of respect for Ryan Upchurch for those grounds right there. True un-Americana. Living the American dream and not being controlled by no corporation. Here's what our music industry is. It's nothing but a bunch of corporations. It's people like that we should be following their footsteps, making our own dreams come true, not being controlled by corporations. Legal jargon and craft is meant to enslave us, and not by our stupid politicians that only care about their own. Well, guys, I'm gonna stop at my parents' house, so I got time. I need to check mail. I haven't been there this week. I haven't been there over a week, so definitely need to stop in. If you guys enjoyed, like I said, I'm gonna try to do this a morning commute and an evening commute once a week, and of course Sunday podcast. I didn't do last Sunday because I had to work, but yeah, that's not happening no more. Overtime done. At least till next year. Tired of getting sick because my body's wore out, wore down. So I don't know. I might be doing a podcast Saturday night as well. That'll be over on Free Spirit Press News. I know we're going to talk a lot more about uh, that Kyle case, Kyle Rittenhouse case. We're both extensively following it. We're going to talk about a few other hot topics as well. But as for my channel, I'll be definitely be live sometime Sunday night. Might see if I can get a guest or two on. I do enjoy having other people's opinions and views. Like I said, I'm going to continue these like once or twice, basically twice a week commutes. And so like I said, no set topic. Just going to talk about whatever's on my mind. Some of it, like morning commute, that's probably just me, tired, enjoying your guys' company, rambling on, stay awake. That 2 hour drive is a killer after work. But with all that said, you guys enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, have fun, be safe, and I'll see you on the next one.